Hi everyone, I'm Hariraj, founder and CEO at NWORX. NWORX is an intelligent technology platform that accelerates human performance in organizational settings. So if you think about it at a very basic level, it's about human performance. NWORX at the end of the day is really figuring out how do you improve human performance in organizational settings, business settings. And that's a problem that has been around for a few decades. It has been considered a top problem. Leadership has been considered a top problem by the CEOs across the world for the last 20 years. Yet it has not been solved once and for all. And that's really what we are trying to take a shot at. The hype around performance, hype around goals. Look, I think there has been hype around the enterprise performance products for maybe several years now, almost 2 decades now. I think in my opinion, it started becoming more and more popular from the times of traditional performance management products, from the time of Jack Welch and his revolution, if you will, at General Electric. I think from then onwards, performance management has been front and center as a holy grail for many of the individuals who have been working in the human resources space. I think more recently, you are starting to see the hype around goal setting as well. Now, before you look at that, as a problem statement, enterprise performance continues to be an issue. It continues to be a central issue for most CEOs. And that's one of the reasons why it is remaining in the hype cycle. It's remaining in the right side of the hype cycle. Now, I think post-pandemic, things have gotten even more prominent. I think enterprise performance is probably even more in a focus because employees are working remotely, teams are distributed, leaders are grappling with the challenges of setting up delivery models, distribution models that are very different from how it used to be in the past. All the while, they need to actually move faster, perhaps execute a change agenda, a transformation agenda, all the while really leading their own organizations. So enterprise performance, leadership performance has become even more critical in the post-pandemic era. So there is quite a bit of research, valid research in fact, that establishes a very strong connection between goal setting and performance, task performance to be very specific. So the hype associated with goal setting as perhaps a great solution to solving this enterprise performance is justified. It has basis. Goal setting is critical. It's not adequate. And the simple way to think about it is when you think about the connection between goal and task performance, we think about how the goal setting really elevates task performance. What we forget are what you call as moderating variables in that connection. One of the biggest moderating variables in that connection is the ability of the individual. Now, as we start to think a bit more about that, there are multiple variables. So you're speaking to ability of an individual. When you speak to feedback that the individuals receive once they are actually performing tasks. So one of the things that you need to have as an individual to be able to perform better is to get feedback on how well you're doing or what are the things that you're not doing so well. This continuous feedback is a critical variable in that equation between goal and performance. So if you just do goal setting, if you really focus on goal setting and not think about elements like feedback, elements like goal commitment, which is again a leadership function, not so much a goal setting function, then you're missing the plot. You're essentially just looking at two things in a multivariable environment. And that's really where goal setting is a very critical component, but not at all an adequate component. Let's just take maybe a metaphor when we are starting to speak in terms of goals and performance, right? And what's missing. So typically, let's take the metaphor of tools. Yeah. So we'll just take two tools. One is hammer, another is guitar. Hammer is a tool. As long as I can kind of swing in the general direction of the nail, I can pretty much get the job done. Yeah. So there isn't much going on. Now take the example of a guitar. It can create musical sounds. However, in the hands of someone like me, again, zero musical abilities, it's not going to create music. If I'm lucky, it might create a musical sound once in a while. And therein lies the gap. So it's not enough if you have a tool to be able to make this connection of setting the goals and connecting it to performance. The person should also wield the ability to use the tool in the appropriate manner. How do I give feedback when I am setting goals to my team? Can I also give feedback in the right way to elevate the performance? Can I secure commitment from my team as I set goals to ensure that the performance is elevated to a different level? If I cannot do that, and I'm essentially just using a tool very passively, just like how I would use a hammer, then that's not going to cut it. And that's really the crux of it. So you've got to figure how to, I would say, able the person on these abilities while enabling them using the tool. So you've got to cover for both tool and the ability in a single flow of experience. That's the way human beings roll. I mean, you think about it, whether we are in a work setting or in a personal setting, we are trying to operate in certain flows of experience. And in that flow of experience, if you can offer them a tool that enables them to do some of these aspects that elevate the performance, but at the same time, help them to have the abilities to do those critical components that elevate the performance, then you create magic. I think there are ways in which things have been done, and as human beings, we are kind of like, we are always wedded to the ways things have been done. If you look at the market closely and you look at the solutions in the enterprise performance space, you will see a bunch of tools and products that are goal-setting products. Yeah, I call them January products, primarily because they get heavily used in the beginning of an operational year, and then they are not so very heavily used. And then you've got performance management products, which I call them the December products. These are very heavily used towards the end of an operational year. Until then, people are not using it in a continuous base. So what you've got to figure is to be offering leaders, managers, and teams solutions that help them with the tool and the ability from February to November throughout the space of the year. That's really a space which continues to be like very sparsely populated, primarily because it's not that easy to bring these two things together. Because people tend to tackle the tool approach and the ability approach as two very distinct domains. You operate with classical performance tools, goal-setting tools, and software that can help us with it when it comes to the tool-based approach. On the other side, when it comes to abilities, you've got like a leadership development kind of a domain or a managerial development domain, wherein people take a very different approach. You don't usually see them come together. And that's probably one of the reasons why it has not happened in the past so much. But I do believe the technology exists today for those things to happen, juxtaposed with each other, so that it's all part of one flow of experience. At different levels, people interpret performance differently. Team is an interesting construct. Team is a construct wherein you could have a few human beings perform in such a way that they can actually go after outcomes that are greater than the sum of the parts of the individual performance. And it's really up to the team leader or a team manager to be able to enable that, to be able to make that happen. So when I think about leaders, managers, teams, when it comes to performance, they are all party to it. At various levels, they all need to figure out how to have the right tools and the right abilities to elevate performance.